And that means it's another night with the League of Anarchy Fantasy Football Podcast crew. And should be a fun one. Just one of the great podcasts on the Sports Crew Radio Network. And be sure to follow them on iTunes and Twitter at Sports Crew Radio. And we got to keep working. I didn't hear from Lou on our numbers this week. I'm busy, so I have no idea if we hit 100 yet. We were getting close. So we'll see. We're in week 13. This is the 12th episode of the show. We have 6 people on. If you want to join us live, go to Facebook. Just follow me, all one word, A Fantasy Fan. Because if you type in A space fantasy space fan, you get a couple of weird people. Just saying. There are some weird fantasy people out there. But if you want me and this show, follow us on YouTube, just A Fantasy Fan, all one word, and you can chime in.
Who are the other people?
And if we do an after show, it'll stay on YouTube. We'll keep going there, but this show we try to keep about an hour. I don't know where it was at. We got 6. We can do a show with 6 because
it's not bad.
I mean, we have the first place guy, we have the last place guy, we have the guy that's got the best team. We got a couple people fighting to get in, stay in, and we have Megal. So, I mean, a pretty good turnout, right? I mean,
I figured you were talking about yourself when you said the best team.
Well,
he was talking about me.
Yeah. And I'm sorry. And we have the guy who has crappy internet, but that's okay. We'll still let Brody hang in there a little bit.
It's probably the landlord's fault.
I would blame the landlord.
It is.
It
is.
You know, do you get free internet there? Is that the problem, Brody?
No.
Oh, it's not free then. Definitely.
I'm not paying for that.
I'm not paying for that. What do you mean, Megan? That's a good way to get, a little bump in the rent.
He'll buy a goblet, but not the internet.
He'll buy the goblet. Bagel.
That's every month.
Megal is the only non-champion to hold the goblet. Megal thinks the goblet is just fine.
Love it.
So
I think we buy a new one every year.
Yeah, me and Megal talk. We think that the champion each year should get to keep the goblet, and we'll just move
That's
the
your
thing
trophy.
around. And that way, like Zach would have 2 goblets there, and in a few years, I'd have 3 or 4 goblets.
Did you hear that, Brody?
I'll have 2 next year.
Oh, shut up. Anybody before the goblet who won doesn't get one.
No, you can buy your own.
They're
then I'm not.
You can buy your own.
$24.
That's the only way.
So I mean, again, I now I'm going to own this one eventually anyway, even though I paid for it. I'm just saying. And if you guys want to direct your question directly to Brody, just go. Oh, and the question like,
is it that bad right now?
What?
It's not.
I
good.
don't know.
It's that bad. What's happening?
Yeah,
It was all
I would just get off, Brody.
I would just get off. Well, maybe we'll type in the chat room if you have something really important to say. Maybe you could do 2 words in the chat room that we could read and actually make out what the hell you're trying to say. But
that you can't understand.
There you go. Yes, it is that terrible that your brother wants you to do a professional podcast with him. I think you're in trouble. I don't think you can handle it. So, I'm just saying. A lot of excitement going down this week because it is, week 13. This is it for a few people. We had a lot of trades going on the last 7 days because our trade deadline is tomorrow at noon, right? That's what we decided. It's tomorrow at noon. So you got to get a trade done between now and then. So a lot of stuff happened today. I saw Clay just popped in the room and now he just left. But when he gets here, we'll get him going. I'm trying to think. I play Kyle, but that game doesn't mean a whole lot, right, Kyle? I mean, for pride, you could beat me for pride, right? For pride. I don't think I'm playing for anything. I think right now, the way the score is, I think if I tied with Ben or TJ, I have more points. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to be second, win or lose, which is, I think, good for me.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah. God, Megal, you're killing me. People who open beer with their teeth, there's something wrong with them. So, So that's pretty much set. Obviously, the only thing I think that we know for a fact is set are the three bottom people, right? Which is Kyle, Helsinger, and Kevin. So those three are definitely out, right? So that leaves Reed and Zach play each other. And what I think I've been told, if it works out right, they're playing for the last spot more or less, because I think based on what Clay is saying, Clay has more points, and that's where we go. Clay, I brought you in because and again, I'm gonna bring up stuff for next year, because we struggle with getting people at any of our meetings in the off season. So some things I think we should start discussing now when we have 5, 6, 7 people, and then just prepare and know what we need. My first question is to the commissioner: do we have written rules somewhere other than what the ESPN league settings are? Is there documentation with what our rules are or aren't that we've adjusted and changed?
I would say no, but also but hold on. Okay. But we have in the past, anytime there's a rule change, I send a mass text out to everyone. So if we were to scroll through all of the text,
which
there's
I'm
somewhere
never gonna do.
No, and I won't either. With us having a message, and I will say, anytime I do a rule, we have our league meeting, I post it on the league message board for the whole year. So it's there, and then everyone knows this is the rules going into next year. It's kind of set in stone. I don't repost those. So any changes I keep up for the whole year.
Now, that being said, we have the ability to make a Google document that's readable but not editable, so that it could be, we could have something that we do have posted that someone can go look at. And inside that document, we can post pictures of, like the draft board. We can post pictures. Is that something that we would want to consider in the future, that we have some things written down? Because a few things have happened this year that I have questions about, that I didn't remember us changing rules, and now things are a little bit different. I do understand as a commissioner in the league that ESPN changes things sometimes, and we may or may not catch it. I understand that. Back to last week, the issue was the trade deadline.
Yeah, which I was not aware of until it came up.
So my thing would be, even like that, if someone wanted to question that last week, and we'd say, well, we did talk about it, but yeah, I think those things need to be documented somewhere.
What I think we should do then at the next league meeting is just have it. It's usually you, me, and Zach basically that show up.
That's my point. That's why I want to bring this up.
No, but what I'm saying is that we, during it, just need to write down all the rules and then put it into a Word doc, like at the meeting. So we make sure, because as long as like me and you like, we could sit down and just do it. I think at a next year's league meeting would be a good time to address it and make sure we have an actual official ruling on everything.
I agree. Just because the league's getting good, the league's getting competitive, and I think there's things we need to be doing to protect the league in the future. And that will go to my thing. I question, and I'm going to question this, but I don't think it should be changed. So let's go that route. So I'm just saying, I know, because this year, obviously the 8th place person is going to maybe make it because of points.
Yes.
If you'd have told me a week ago, I'd have said I would have said our tiebreakers were head to head, because 3 years ago, I brought up that we go by points, and Clay and Dally shot that down because we allowed 8 people in. We decided that we were going to just say, well, we're not going to let anybody in that didn't earn a way in by beating certain people, and we were going to leave it head to head. Now it's points. And again, I'm not saying I don't think we change it now because we've gone all year, but I've been playing the last 3 years assuming that we're still playing tiebreaker head to head. This year I go to the rules, and you're right, but I didn't go to the rules till someone brought it up. And I go to the rules, I'm like, it is now points. I
believe
we never voted on that.
I believe the following season is when that happened. I could be wrong, but I think the reason, and this, going back 3 years, so I believe the reason I didn't change it in season is because that was brought up during the season. So it wasn't something that was changed, or it might've been also when
I brought it up at the meeting. I did.
Oh, was it meeting? Okay.
Brought it up at the meeting because the year before I just barely made it in.
Yeah.
Because of that head, but I was way much better in points, meaning I just squeaked in, but I should have got in on points. So I actually wanted it the way we have it now.
Yeah.
I just didn't remember voting on changing it. And to me, those are things that need to be written in our rules. So
it had to have been the following year. Then I'm not sure what. This is again your point of having the rules written, but it would have been that next year following that. Like I don't know. Did you bring it up because at that point we were making rules for the following year? Because that wasn't that also.
That's correct, and that's also the year. That's why I said I don't went 3 years back because 3 years back this is when we decided to go with keepers, and that's when we added the 8th person. So the whole thing, and maybe then I said, why don't we let the 8th spot be the guy with the most points? Period. Not anything else other than what, like Reed. Reed scored a zillion points. Should he not be the 8th guy in? I actually still believe that, even though this year a few people wouldn't because it would knock them out. So
I think what then might have happened is that anything we discussed was just going for that following year. I could be wrong, but I think because we did the keepers the following year and that would be maybe. I don't know, but it is points now. So
okay, and like I said, I actually would prefer that. I
agree. I think it's much better that way.
Vote on it, and I also know ESPN's good at changing shit. And then if you don't catch it, it doesn't get switched. So I just want to know. We do have Cha-Cha's out there on YouTube watching. Wants to know if one guy's laying in a hospital bed. I'm assuming is he talking about?
That's Kyle.
Kyle, it's just a nice white leather couch. Something that you can't see semen stains on. That's all I'm assuming.
No, Charlie, I'm not the hospital.
He is the factory of sadness. So,
So that's, I think that's pretty entertaining. And again, we did have the comment last week. Let's see. Is someone literally commented me last week and want to know, does Host Smasher eat pizza every show? Jim, what are you eating tonight?
I actually went out to eat. I almost ordered pizza tonight, and I was like, you know what? I got to show these listeners that I have some variety. So,
I just thought it was funny because I thought about it. That every time Jim just eats pizza all the time, and then someone actually texted me the question, when if Host Smasher eats pizza on every show, and I think at that point we'd only done 2 live shows anyway, so no one would have seen it until the last couple. And I thought that was kind of entertaining. That like I said, I'm not sure if it was a fan or not. I just know they were noticing your dietary habits.
No, I definitely have fans out there. I mean, hold on.
He's got fans, trust me.
I'm pretty sure that was the answer anyway. So, all right, good. The next thing I'm curious, and again, I'm bringing up stuff for next year, and then we'll get into a few matchups and some things as we go. Because I brought it up in another league that we talk about it. I brought it up with Zach. I actually brought it up with Megal the other day. And this is no factor on Clay one way or the other. But as leagues get better and more things are going, I believe that dual commissioners should be a consideration. So that if something happens and someone decides to quit or doesn't want to participate anymore, whatever, the whole league doesn't go down.
Or is having a baby. And or just on Sunday mornings, or if weird things happen and someone needs something switched before game time, you have multiple people to contact. And you just want it. It relieves one person from having to take all the bullshit or all the problems and all the complaints. Is that something that as a league we would want to consider or not? And obviously Clay would be one of those. So I wouldn't even say that unless he doesn't want to do it. Maybe Clay would say, I'm done being a commissioner. I don't even know. I would obviously say if people want to volunteer and or be nominated, we would just do some kind of vote on the actual, our website and a poll. But is that an idea people would consider, not consider? And obviously, Clay, you'd be one of the main people. I don't know. I mean, to me, there's some benefit for you. And benefit for the league if things go awry or something like that. There's 2 people to help out versus one.
My only question is because, like, as of now, I try and run it as we just all vote. Like, there's not much that it's I decide in my way or the highway as commissioner. So I guess what all would that entail, bringing in a second commissioner? I'm not against it. I'm just curious.
Technically nothing, to be real honest.
Okay.
Other than the two commissioners would talk and say, hey, for the league draft, you bring the board, you bring the notes, or you bring, anything else, you would have two people doing the work. But at the same time, on Sunday morning, Brody and Zach make some weird trade and something didn't happen, or somebody dropped a guy and 5 minutes later is texting the commissioner, hey, I screwed up, dropped the wrong guy. Can you fix it for me? Well, if you're not available, they're stuck. Well,
yeah,
two people that can, and that's all it is. You can just give commissioner rights to another person.
Gotcha.
And technically, I agree. Two commissioners don't mean that either one are making changes without the whole group. Because I'm assuming right now we could all agree this is now the League of Anarchy league. This isn't Clay's league. It's not his league. I mean, this is a league of its own now. And the same thing. I mean, I don't want Clay to take his ball and go home either. You know what I'm saying? I mean, prevents that too. If Clay decides one day I'm fed up, or anybody that has control, if Clay gives up and we just give it to one other person, now you have one person that shuts down a whole league that really is going in the right direction. I would think that helps eliminate that. There's still somebody else that has control and or can keep the league going the next year until you have another dual commissioner to attach. So Brody, you have a comment on dual commissioners versus a single commissioner?
Well, first, am I still lagging terribly?
Yes.
Oh, you're just ugly now.
All I was going to say is it sounds like Mark's going for Clay's power. I think this is a hungry move by Mark. By one other commissioner, he means
no. I'm all for it being a vote of anybody. Period. I mean, whoever wants to be nominated or volunteer, and then if there's enough votes, do it. I don't have a problem one way or the other. My concern is Clay's having a child and things are going on. Again, this Sunday, Clay could be having a baby and somebody needs something done and we're stuck because no one else has the ability to make a change.
Well, my only thing is that because I am having a son, I just assumed he's going to be the heir to this league, and I will be passing it on to him. So if we're doing dual commissioners, I know he might be young for next year, but I assume he's going to be stepping in and he will just help me run this league next year.
All right. I mean, I guess that's an option.
Yeah. That's where my vote would go.
All right. Anybody else think it's a good, bad idea? I mean, Ian,
honestly, I would prefer that. Has been something I've been considering because it's been easy for me not having much commitment outside of fantasy football, setting it up, doing everything like that, new rule changes, getting the board, all of that. I would honestly prefer to have a dual commissioner just to kind of default questions to. So yeah, I don't care who it is or if we have two, whatever everyone decide. It's something we can decide at the next league meeting.
All right. And that's fine. Again, I just, if it's something let's say anybody have a negative reason why we wouldn't want to do it. Obviously Clay is the commissioner now and seems to be on board. Anybody think it's a bad idea? No. Anybody that doesn't care one way or the other or thinks we should consider it?
I think Gates should be the second commissioner.
Again, I think you can nominate anybody and we put whatever names get nominated by a certain date. We do a vote. Garrett, if he wants to be commissioner, that's fine. I've known leagues where there's a commissioner involved that's not not in the league itself. And obviously there's good and bad and benefits about that. Jim, Host Smasher, you've been in a few other leagues, you say. Is there usually just one commissioner or one person in charge, or is it something that multiple people are involved?
I've always just had one commissioner, but I mean, it sounds like a good idea because Clay, I mean, he's not really, deciding things for the league without consulting us, like I feel like we all have a pretty good understanding that all of our opinions are equally important and things aren't just being changed or made a certain way based off one person's view. The only thing I would say is, while we can nominate certain people, Me personally, as a fantasy manager, I would feel comfortable with anyone except for Mark being the second.
And I am fine with not being involved. So that's fine too. And that's either way. Now, and again, obviously at that point we'd either take, people who don't want to do it, we'd take their name out if someone nominates them or they want to be in. That's fine. Yeah, go ahead, Clay.
You had brought up people not in the league. Someone that if that's a route we want to go, we could always consider Daly. I know even though he's not playing this year, he is constantly asking me about the league. I don't know if he'd be interested in it, but just as a commissioner standpoint, that's something too. If people want someone outside of the league, I don't know. I would have to talk to him, but
I'd rather keep it inside the league.
That's fine. I was just saying Daly is constantly talking about it. So
Daly's going to be involved when we go to 14 teams. Daly
Yeah.
needs to get back in anyway. But
that was just if we wanted someone you had mentioned outside the league, if that's a route we wanted to go.
You've been in the league since the beginning. What's your opinion on dual commissioners or one commissioner?
I'm indifferent. Other than just having two people to talk to you about the issues and stuff. And I don't think it's really going to change anything specifically about the league. So it's just kind of having an extra person to help and do stuff like that.
All right. I agree. Kyle, what's your opinion? I mean, you've come and gone before, but and you play in other leagues. Have you ever been in a league with two commissioners?
I have not. And I think it's a good idea, like you were saying. If Clay's not available, he's busy doing stuff, sleeping during the day because he's not sleeping at night, taking care of the kid. It'd be nice to have somebody else to go to if something needs changed immediately before I'm doing or something. So
all right. Again,
I like the idea.
I think it's something we need to consider and or make sure back to the same thing. I guess write a note down, or we don't have rules or a paper now that but I think that is something we just need to jot down and when the season's over, those are the things. And I think this year we might consider having our league meeting on this here where we can have 10, technically all 12 people could be here without anyone leaving their house.
I think it'd be easier. We'd have a better turnout for sure.
We can get votes done right away, I think too.
Mm-hmm.
And go that route. And obviously doing the podcast makes that easier. Hell, I have no problem just making one of our meetings a podcast and just keep rolling with it. I did talk to somebody, we're debating again about maybe skipping, a couple people have asked about doing the podcast once the season's over, maybe once a month, just to keep the league, going, maybe a half hour, 45 minutes. I considered maybe why don't we take like January off, come back and do a show maybe the week of the Super Bowl so we can talk, real football. And then after that, just do one a month. Is that something everybody be interested in?
I would be interested in it. It just, again, I have no idea what my schedule's about to be like.
They're kids, Clay. They can cry. Put them in the duct tape.
As long as you guys don't mind hearing a baby cry in the background, I guess.
We have Brody.
They can go outside, man.
You got a mute button too, so
yeah. I would be interested. That wouldn't be a problem.
I think again, back to keeping the interest up in the league. And again, I now that it's a keeper league and obviously trading picks and all that's part of it. Obviously it's another meeting, another situation that allows things to go on that, normally wouldn't. So go ahead.
With that, because it seems like people are finally getting how to trade keepers or draft picks. When this is something we can discuss, or maybe at the league meeting, when do we open up the season again for trading?
For the next year? For
the following year. Because it's typically been as soon as it's when I think the app has opened up. It's kind of when I started, which is after our league meeting typically.
And I think that's fine.
That's fine too. I just didn't know if we're going to keep doing the podcast and stuff and keep the league active throughout the whole year. If, as soon as the season opens, ends, if we want to, or if we want to put a deadline.
I guess part of me thinks what makes the difference as long as we're documenting it. And obviously it's, a fair, legit trade and all that. I mean, I don't know technically like I shouldn't say that. The real NFL has a trade deadline time frame. They go.
Yeah. And then they have when free agency and trading opens again.
I would say this probably again something else we can vote on, and probably like you said, I don't see why we just wouldn't do our summer meeting and then after that open it up, because that's when ESPN's available and that. So
I just wanted to check with that before if someone tries to do a trade.
The educator in the league, but I make one trade last week and teach all of you how to trade one of your picks. Me and Kyle, we got nasty and dirty and got a deal done, and now Jesus Christ, you're all you have
I'll trade away.
See, I take offense to that, Mark, because I've been doing it for the last 2 years. Trading,
but you've been doing it just before the draft.
Yes, but I have been doing
it in the actual season, and I was just amazed how quickly people kind of grabbed on.
I caught on quick.
Yeah, it did catch on quick.
Yeah, it did.
Who first rounder? Come my way.
A first rounder, you got no good players. I don't want any of your.
Yeah.
Oh, come on now.
You got nothing. My team's fine. I can beat you with what I got. I don't need to give away any more of my picks. Round 5's all I have.
I'm saying take first rounder.
Oh, you want my first rounder?
No. You take. I get one of your players.
Oh, I get your first rounder, and you take one of my players. I have a good kicker.
Yeah.
I have a great kicker.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
All right. Is the word bonding? I mean, if you say it, it's happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where's your brother at, B-Rod?
I have no idea.
I jumped him in ball last night, so he's didn't want to show up tonight.
It's hard telling with cops. They're always up to something.
And I haven't seen him in like a month.
Was he on?
He was on here last week.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he was on last week.
Well, damn.
Damn. All right. So let's get back to this week. Zach, you and it's you and Reed, right? Is that what we've kind of come down to? The winner of your game is the last person in. Other than that, we're pretty much set. Is that? I kind of think that's correct, Clay.
Yeah.
So
I'm looking forward to after this week how everything plays out with Stan. I think
I'm excited for Crapport versus Crapport, Pricer versus Pricer, Clay versus Clint.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Well,
honestly, the way
you can think it's not going to happen. I think it's still a possibility.
It's a possibility, but just looking at how everything's going to play out, I don't think. I think I assume
if Ben wins, Magel cannot jump him.
Yes.
So if I win,
put Magel at 4, and if Magel was at 4, he gets to pick. But he obviously
that would put Magel at 5.
Over, huh?
That would put Magel at 5, right?
Yeah,
or
right.
Even 6.
Right. That's correct. Now, who are you playing, Clint?
I'm playing Ben.
He plays Ben.
Oh, you are playing Ben. Okay.
If I win, I'm in third. Should be in third.
Well, that's if TJ wouldn't win. If TJ or Ben win, you're going to be 4th.
Probably.
Yeah, but regardless, I am assuming that either you or Brody would be picking TJ in the first round.
Well, TJ's going to drop. TJ's going to drop to if TJ. What I'm looking at is TJ losing, Ben winning. That bumps him up. TJ would drop to 4. And TJ would that's true. If TJ would depend on whoever would be 3rd. Well, that's true. Whoever's 3rd could pick TJ, that would still stick you guys. So if Ben,
but if Magel or me win, then I would jump both of them. I think.
I don't think you can jump.
If Ben loses, I'm sorry. If Ben loses,
right? If Ben or TJ win, they are set in 3rd.
Yes.
So one of you two would have to be 4th. Not.
Yes.
Who's got a bad dog?
Vicious dog.
That would be mine.
I was gonna say that's cool.
Our commissioner had to
the funny thing, he doesn't notice it's happening.
Right. Like no one notices their microphone and internet's sucky. Host Master, I think you're pretty much set right too. I mean, if you lose, can you drop out?
I think so. If I lose,
I can drop you to 6 and 7.
Yeah.
Who are you playing this week?
Clay. So if I lose, Clay's definitely getting in because of his points.
Clay's definitely getting in, but we think Clay's getting in even if he loses because of points. The key is you. What can happen that you're out?
I could either lose my spot to Zach or Reed, I think.
Okay, I see. All right. Kyle?
Yeah,
we
because
already
Reed's
know
got
your
a
answer.
crap
What is
load
your
of points.
question?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely out. I was just gonna say to Jimmy, he was messaging me, he's trying to make a big deal before the deadline tomorrow.
He's always making big deals.
Wanted to remind him that is negotiable.
That is negotiable. I love that. Right? Everything's negotiable. Except, Jimmy's hard to deal with.
It's funny that Kyle says that, considering his first response was asking me if I was intoxicated.
Well, maybe you want to know what kind of negotiation, ploy he could, add on to that.
Hey, you never know with this kid.
Who didn't make a deal today? I didn't. Magel, you made a deal. You got a tight end. Everett, you didn't.
I tried like hell all day, but
Brody made a trade, right? Brody made a deal.
Yes, sir.
Kyle, did you make a deal today?
Yeah, I think it was Magel that I
With
gave
me. Yeah.
Jared Cook for Tate.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, for Jones.
And then Clay, you got 2 deals at least, right?
I did Geis.
Clay's made more deals this year than he has every year combined. Isn't it much more fun, right? Isn't it more fun to make deals?
No, I hate it. I like
Oh,
drafting
you
and
liar.
setting it.
But you could add everybody in this league together, and they still wouldn't equal you, Mark.
That's true. I mean, because that's
I feel like I'm pretty close.
I'd have to
Strictly trades, not talking
On shit trades, maybe.
not talking at like just picking
I have
people off the waivers.
63 moves.
Nice one. Megan.
Yeah, but
Zach has 70 moves.
I was gonna say I have the most moves this year.
well, I would be moving my team around too if I was Zach.
7. Damn.
Now, who's the least? Ben is the least at 9 moves. And moves just mean you pick someone up of waivers or not. So,
Yeah, I was gonna say you kind of beef those numbers a little bit because you'll pick up a player, drop them, and then pick them up again and do 3 moves right there.
Where do you see
Well,
that at?
under season stats, it says moves. There used to be one that said trades. That's gone. I can't find that anymore. It used
It's
to
on
say-
there somewhere. I know you can.
say total
Pretty
move.
sure you have to like scroll over. I'm pretty
Huh?
sure it's there.
Trades is there.
Yeah, it
I'm
is.
pretty
I found
sure
it there
it's
last time. I don't have it up though.
I'm looking. There is no moving over on this screen, so it's got to be on a different screen. But no, I sometimes I pick up one guy. Sometimes it's
See if I can find
bullshit
it.
people, and other times it's like last week. I picked up a guy and then said, "Oh shit, I forgot my IR spot's empty," and I picked up Funches. Which now with Ebron getting hurt, Funches looks like he could be a great steal for the playoff run. He could be there. Funches is a tight end that plays wide receiver. So I'm pretty excited about that pickup last week. And
Yeah.
hey, again, given my tips and tricks, when I picked up someone went, oh shit, I forgot my IR's not there. I know enough that if you drop someone, you can pick them right up if you do it right away. So I dropped the guy, then picked up Funches, moved him to my IR, then picked him up again. So yeah, that's just to me being smart fantasy guy and always making sure I have someone in my IR. And if it's someone good like Funches, it's a big bonus for me. Go ahead, Clay.
I found the trades if you want me to list off some of the top. So you have 20 trades. Kyle has 13.
Go get him.
I have 11. And I think next is Brody with 8.
Brody's traded 8 times. That's bull.
Yeah, that
Again,
seems high. I don't feel like he's traded that much.
I've had 20 trades. Who has anybody had none?
Let me look. The least are Magel and Reed with 2. Magel, Reed, and Helsinger with 2.
Huh. All right. So 2 people in the bottom and Magel who's hanging in there. Good job, Magel.
I'm trying.
Yeah, Magel.
2 big trades, and one of those was today, right? So before today, you only had 1 trade, and that was Jim, which brought Host Smasher alive. That trade, Host Smasher went on a roll that got smashed last week. I'm just saying, I did smash the Smasher, but that was a great trade, I think, for both teams still.
Worked out great for me.
Megal's had a running back that's he's not had great Bell weeks, but he's getting you almost 20 points every week.
20 points every week.
And Host Smasher had a couple, things that has made his team a lot more competitive. Jim, are you still happy that trade happened?
I am. I going into that trade, I knew that the consistency with those two players wouldn't be there like it would be with Bell, but I needed depth, and I needed, I couldn't lose a starter running back, but I also needed wide receiver help. And without that trade, I wouldn't even be in playoff contention right now because those players alone won me multiple weeks.
Well,
and I needed the running back, the consistent running back. So it worked out well for both of us, I thought.
I'm a depth guy, which is why I do a lot of trades. I'm always I'm not one of these. I like having a big bench scoring points for me because I know that gives me either trade bait and or if somebody gets hurt, I have options. Brody, I think this year because your team's better, because when your team's crap, you don't do anything. But this year you've tried that. Your depth has gotten a little bit better. So
yeah, I feel like my depth has gotten a lot better. And I do want to say only one time I had a really bad year, I did give up. Right. So let's just drop that right now.
Right.
I'm sick of it.
But that's because you had a bad year. I'm guessing if you have a bad year next year, you'll also drop out.
I also had my first child. So I blame that a little bit. I had a bad year plus had a kid. So I was like, I don't really give a fuck.
Brody's just feeding off of other people's possible excuses to make up excuses for why he sucked in the past.
So we can so Clay, you're going to suck next year because you're going to have a baby.
Well, that's not why I sucked. That's why I gave up.
I'm doing great this year with baby's on the way. That's still just I don't think the baby was just on the way for Brody. He wasn't. They didn't have it. No,
it was. I did have a baby. That's when I quit.
You had a baby in the middle of a season. See, you got to. You can't be. You got to plan this during fantasy now. Just like real football players now getting the weekend off because their wives had a baby. All right, come on, show up to the game. You're on my fantasy team. I don't want you.
Oh wait, what did you ask me originally? I forget
about the depth of your team. I was a little amazed that you've paid a little bit of attention this year, and you've tried to make some of you, because I've noticed in the past year, some of you just acted like I don't care on my bench. I just don't care. And yeah, your team might be okay here, but again, one player gets hurt, now you're stuck.
Yeah, I was very worried about that. I mean, today I met trade.
That's why you traded for a backup running back.
I know, but he's still getting 4 fucking points every week. So I mean, he gets like 5 to 7 receptions every game. I'll take that in a PPR. Especially, I'm honestly, I think I'm going to start him this week, and gave up a 5th round, which is high. I agree with seeing the 5th round and being like, holy shit, you gave up your 5th round for a backup running back. I get that thought, but to me, something I need for the playoffs, and I'm playing for this year. And honestly, I've never drafted a team and won on draft day. I never won on draft day, so I don't see.
You've never won in general though either. So it doesn't matter what day we're talking.
I've never made it to the Super Bowl.
Okay, exactly, Brody. You have never been a winner yet. So we'll see. But again, but I do that all the time. I trade for backup players because again, it makes my team hopefully better, and then gives me, sometimes the backup does well. And now I can trade my starter knowing I've got someone else to put in there. Again, I hate to keep educating you guys, but I think I make the league better. That's all. It's also like this. How many of the trades that went down today also included the 5th round pick and the 10th round? The same thing me and Kyle did last week. A bunch of damn copycats. Not one of you little pussies could throw out a 1st or 2nd round and make something happen. No, Mark did a 5th, so I'm doing a 5th. I know it, Brody. I know it, right? You were scared to do anything but a 5th because that's what I did.
Honestly, Kevin just sent 5th rounder. He said, "Hey, I get your 5th, you get Eckler," and I just sat on it and thought about it and said, "Fuck it, yeah, let's do it."
That's how you do your trading. Fuck it, I'm doing it. I love it. So, and now we're going into another thing I have to question. now for next week, Clay. This is back to we don't have written rules, so I'm not sure. But I know for a fact I've brought it up last year. But my problem is I just don't know. If I'm not mistaken, last year we decided once the playoffs start that people who are not in the playoffs, obviously there'll be 4 of them, and then the following week there'll be 8 of them. So once you're in the playoffs or out of the playoffs, you can no longer use your free agent. You can no longer use the waiver wire. You can only get people when they're in free agent. Is that something that we know for a fact we do? Or I'm thinking that because I think that's the right thing. I know we've discussed it before. I'm not one of these that believes there are some leagues where if you're not in the playoffs, you can't do anything. Meaning you can't pick up anybody. I don't like that idea because if I'm out of the playoffs, I like to gamble. So I still want to do some moves, but I think if I'm out of the playoffs, I shouldn't be able to use a waiver wire spot. But if you guys let a guy go, if someone goes to free agency, I should be allowed to pick them up.
Yeah.
Is that a rule we have? Or
I don't think it was ever actually set in stone on this made up paper that we don't have.
Right. That's my problem. But I agree.
I don't think it was, but I agree with that because I do think they should be able to still make moves, especially with keepers. You never know who might become a starter next year. So you should be able to still play for next year by adding people.
Right. I just don't believe they should be able to use waiver wires. That way, at least people in the playoffs have the first shot at.
Well, I also don't know why would you.
Why would you keep your waiver wire after a couple weeks? You'd just use it anyways because it's just between 2 or 4 people.
Well, I understand. Right now, that would be my argument. That would say next week, 4 people can't use their waiver wire spot. Only 8 people in the playoffs could actually do waiver wire. But once Tuesday night goes through, and then there's free agent people, then I think anyone should be able to pick up anyone. That's kind of my argument. And then, yes, the following week, only 4 people can use their waiver wire spot. And then, because again, if you're in the playoffs, then to me, you should have the first right if your running back goes down to be able to pick up his backup versus somebody who's in last place. I just feel that way. But I don't like the idea where in most leagues most leagues are when you're not in the playoffs, your team's locked other than setting your lineup, So again, is it something we want to decide now and vote on, or are we saying we don't have a rule, so we're going to let it go? Whatever happens. But I thought we had this discussion last year because me and Brody were gambling a little bit still. And, that's why I think I brought it up last year. I still wanted to be able to pick up free agents, but I did not participate in the waiver wire once I got booted out of the playoffs. And I did that out of courtesy, but, because I think last year we didn't have a rule. So I'm just curious.
Yeah. I mean, I know that I don't think that was addressed at the meeting this year. I don't remember it being addressed.
But that's the problem because we don't have a paper. We don't remember what we talk about.
What we need to be. Yeah.
We need a report.
Does everyone understand what I'm saying? I guess that's the first thing I can see where some people would go, I don't even understand what you mean. But hey, as long as I know tonight what's going to happen next week, I'm good with it. But I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. If we're going to let Kyle use his waiver wire thing, then whatever. But at the same time, I mean, what's our rule?
I would say we could vote on it, but I mean, people that are some of the 4 aren't here. So it wouldn't, we would have, but I'm saying we have to let them know.
I agree.
Not saying we have a majority, so vote.
I'm just curious right now, though. Let's just is there anybody against it? Let's go that route. Kyle, go ahead. You raised your hand. Are you for or against?
As someone who's not in the playoffs right now, I'm for the players contending getting dibs on the top waiver players. I don't think it's fair that I pick up the top.
But you do understand. But you understand that you can pick up a free agent guy if you want. Because if you pick up somebody who hasn't been drafted, he's an 8th round keeper, So you might grab somebody at the last minute. Exactly. I'm all for that. Zach, you had your hand. What's your opinion on how we should go forward?
I don't have an opinion on it, but I mean,
then why'd you raise your damn hand?
Because we have an entire week before the playoffs. Just text the group message and put a thing on the message board.
He's always indifferent or no opinion.
God, he's so
You guys are trying to vote with 7 people here.
No. I know we cannot vote tonight, but I obviously want to get opinions of, is there anybody that thinks we shouldn't consider this?
Well, we can vote tonight if we all agree. We're majority here.
I mean, ethically, yes, it would be the wrong thing for the people not in the playoffs to pick up people.
I would agree. We've already had that discussion. That back to the same thing. We don't have anything written, but I think we decided this year already that the podcast, in most cases, and our fun chat room is not a binding place for rules and vote. Yeah. There needs to be something put in on the league board, and then that's where we need to vote. Yeah, Brody?
I would say in a non-keeper league, it would be unethical for someone out of the playoffs to pick somebody up. But technically, it would be ethical for somebody in a keeper league to pick somebody up, even though they're at playoffs, because they're always playing for the next year. So I'm kind of indifferent about it. I kind of don't really care which way we decide to go, just because I don't think it's going to be a giant deal at the end of it. But ethically, I think for a keeper league, they should be able to pick it up off of waiver wires.
I mean, you have
free agency.
You have had all season, and I mean, we know what our waiver spots are. Megal's held the number 1 spot. It's like, I mean, I kind of agree
for
with
3 weeks.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, you've held that number 1 waiver spot into the playoffs, basically. So you still have the choice to get the number 1 guy. If for some weird reason a keeper comes out that maybe Kyle wants and can get, then I mean, that definitely helps Kyle for next year.
Mm-hmm. And again, I'm probably fine either way, other than not knowing for sure. Because if we don't have a rule, ethically, I just don't believe in it. That's all. That's me. I understand. Because even in the keeper league, my thing is, out of 4 or 5 people are going to use their waiver wire. Technically, the last few weeks, the people in the playoff aren't picking up for keepers. They're picking up to make their team better for that next week. And that really doesn't affect the guy that goes, well, I'm going to pick that guy up as a free agent because that helps me as a keeper. I really think they're farther apart than you think, but that's kind of my thing. Jim, you've been in other leagues. You think, has that ever come up in any of your leagues as far as once you're out of the playoffs, what you can do and not do in your league?
Not really, but, honestly, in the other leagues, people generally with the other league not being a keeper league, if you're out of the playoffs, you pretty much go inactive as far as activity-wise. So, I mean, people aren't just purposely picking up players to sabotage others, which would be a potential problem. Question. So, Kyle's getting the toe ring. Is that going to be because he has the worst regular season record? Or are the teams that don't make the playoffs in the consolation ladder playing to not come in last in the playoff for the losers?
I don't know. Is the toe ring season thing, or if Kyle wins the consolation bracket, does that give him some out on the toe ring? I'll bring him in just a second. Right now, I'm going to let him stay silent. We're not going to let you talk yet. We're going to talk about you. Anybody have an idea on the toe ring? Should it just be the first 13 weeks, or should it go through the consolation? Go ahead, Clay.
It goes through.
I do. See, I thought it should go through, but now the more I think of it, you have people like Helsinger and Kevin who are full sell on their team because they're out of the playoffs, so they're already playing for next year. So obviously those teams, like Helsinger, for instance, I would have a better team, but he's kind of selling his team at the moment. So Kyle might actually.
That was my argument of why we needed a punishment, so that if you sell out completely, you're going to be punished. Meaning, okay, I do want to get my keepers, but I need to handle, meaning I'm not willing to dump my kicker, or I'm not willing to grab someone's kicker and dump, a starter and really make my team shitty and someone else's team better. Because that's the problem in keeper leagues. You don't want what I would call major dumpage. So that's why we have some kind of a penalty. My argument was, I thought the penalty should be you should lose the keeper. No one liked that one.
But regardless, I mean, if we decide that now, that would be still, I think, unfair to Helsinger, who was probably assuming that, it wasn't going on. He might have done a different trade knowing,
he doesn't want to be last.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, okay, I didn't make it. The playoffs don't matter. He might have made it.
But it would. My argument now would be, though, it would make that consolation game bracket important. And now I would definitely be for now. Let waivers and everything roll, man.
Mhm.
Everyone
Let it all go.
playing. So that would be the thing. If we want to keep our league active, then the longer and the more weeks we can do that, I think that's a positive, which I would be more likely to say, no, you go through that consolation bracket. And to me at that point, it makes that first week of the consolation bracket important for sure, because if Kyle would lose the first week of the consolation bracket, he's almost guaranteed to be last. But you'll keep playing it out. There's technically 3 more games that maybe Kyle wins and Kevin doesn't, and now there's toe rings involved. I think it keeps everyone involved.
It makes it way more entertaining.
And if we're gonna keep letting them do waivers and keepers, that's
that's fine. I was just doing more devil's advocate on either way. I'm fine. I guess it's more. I don't know. Whatever we decide, we can vote on that.
That we can vote on, right? Fuck the other guys on that vote. We could.
Well, I mean, it's voting on a toe ring on if Kyle gets it now. If Kyle gets it in a couple weeks.
That's
Kyle. Maybe Kyle's already picked out one and doesn't want that to happen. Kyle, what's your toe ring etiquette? What do you think we should do? Should the consolation games count also?
I do have a couple picked out, but I'm not trying to get out of it. But here's my problem with it is if we're playing and the loser's gonna get the toe ring, then I don't see why. I don't get the point of why we would start trading our good players for keepers, because if I was trying not to get it, I wouldn't have traded you Henry the other week. I would have been possibly working a deal with Jimmy right now. If I wanted to not have the worst score, I would be keeping these.
But that's the fine line. That's the fine line of trying to keep people from. Do I think you've dumped what I would consider I have seen other leagues where the last place guy just every decent player he has gone, and they just take kickers. I mean, this still makes you go, okay, I need the keepers. Like me, you got a 5th round pick. It wasn't terrible, but you still have to work waivers and all that. You're only 1 game out. The point is it prevents somebody from dumping everything because coming in last has a penalty. If
you don't mind wearing a toe ring, though.
I have 4 on right now. Go ahead.
My opinion is, if I had to choose between playing to potentially set myself up next year to be really strong, or be in a situation where I may have to wear the toe ring, I'm going to pick to be strong the following year if I already know.
Right. It's a fine line. I agree with that.
Yeah,
that being said, I think, because Kyle right now, if he's in last place, last record, for the past few weeks, he's known the ring is going to belong to him. So
not necessarily.
He's selling players, getting picks, getting keepers. But once he is finished doing that, until, the Super Bowl's over, there's nothing else for him.
But he also paid $40 too, and also deserves the right to have a reason at least play the next few weeks versus going, week 13's over and technically he's done. He doesn't have to sit line, doesn't have to pay attention to anything, but at least that little penalty, I look at it as, hey, gives me, if I was last place, at least a reason to play the next couple of weeks and still pay attention and set my line and have fun. I mean, playing fantasies, it's fast. I don't know how many of you realize we've gone 13 weeks like that. And that's my thing. I don't get enough of it personally. So I like the fact that even our lowest guy on the totem pole has a reason to play for 3 more weeks and get more of his $40 worth, before he puts on the ring. Zach, go ahead.
Just want to say that my toes are already painted bright red right now, so I am not at all afraid of a toe ring. So losing and dumping my players at the end of the season there's just no incentive in it for me. So
all right.
You're the only one.
I know. A toe ring is.
But I can also see where, hey, maybe it's me and my age. Mago, do you see a scenario where you would want to finish last?
Mago's probably got webbed toes.
With or without a penalty? Finishing last is not something I would consider, period. And if it meant being 1 point or 1 game ahead of Helsinger or anyone else, at least in the draft, no one can look at me and go, hey, last place, you got to, which maybe we need that too. I think a toe ring and a chair, meaning when you come to the draft, We need a nice chair for the champion and his goblet. And then we need a second little damn stool that's hard as fuck for the last place guy in his toe ring. Meaning, I don't want to be that guy. And if we keep something like that as part of the game, I think, again, I know these guys say that, but the ones who are saying that, Kyle, don't have a shot at losing. So it's easier for them to go, I wouldn't care. But that's because they're in the middle of the pack. What, right, Brody? You don't care either. You're at the top of the pack, but go ahead.
I actually do care.
I thought I was up.
I was.
Hold on, Mago.
Jesus.
1 second, Megan. 1 second. I'm thinking,
well, with Brody, it'll be 4 seconds because we have a second in between each word when his internet goes.
Sorry. All right, like literally the last 2 weeks, I'm scared to death to see some of the trades because I'm like, all right, like some teams that going into the playoffs can really make a big change for the playoffs just based off of these teams dumping off their players. So I think it's a good way to actually, like, you're still going to get that happening, but not a big point,
right.
Just everybody going on one team.
Two people have already said tonight they dump, they don't care. So, right.
Yeah,
that's going to get that, but point. There's still that, thing. Go ahead, Clint Mago. I'll give you your word.
I like the idea of keeping the league competitive, honestly, and keeping everybody in it. Even like I'm sitting number 1 on the claim waiver. I think everybody should be able to jump in on it. It just makes to where I might have to use it. It just keeps it competitive.
Right.
And the same way with, guys that are down low. I'd love to keep playing if I was in that. I didn't play last year because I didn't make the playoffs. Would have loved to have seen how the last couple of weeks would have gone.
Well, the last few years, every year I get out of the playoffs, I immediately start texting people and to try to, I'll gamble. And then some people don't even understand that. Well, I think Brody, not last year because we did something different, but I think the year before, I forget who I texted, and they go, well, we don't play each other. I said, but it gives you the numbers, dummy. If you score 120 and I score 119, you beat me. We don't have to play against each other to still gamble because I want a reason to set my lineup. I want a reason to watch. Sundays with fantasy is so much more fun and entertaining than Sunday without it.
I won't even watch it without it.
So if I'm out of the playoffs and I text somebody and say, hey, and actually I usually text everybody. Anybody wants to put 10 or 20 bucks on a week, let's go at it. So, I like that I can still make moves, but I do think that consolation bracket having a purpose would be fun to watch. Clay?
Yeah, so if we do the consolation bracket, is it going to go off of how they finish during that bracket or their overall record at the end?
I think it would go overall record of the end because only winners are playing at the end. Meaning, as long as you're winning, you're not getting that extra loss. If you go that way, where if you play, it's just losses and wins, then all 3 weeks matter to those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
It's kind of what I would have assumed.
No, I think I believe ESPN at the end of the year does a final record standings based off how games they played in the consolation games,
including the playoff games.
Yes, so that would just make it easier to determine as well. That's I just wanted to make sure that's what we're agreeing on.
What we would agree on is that at the end of the season, I guess as long as we know ESPN's taken the win-loss as part of the thing, at the end of the season, if we go by ESPN standings and the very last team is based on wins and losses, that's the toe ring / hard stool / have to drink natty light lime during the draft or something. I mean,
so hypothetically, not maybe this year, but someone who makes the playoffs and then gets bumped the first round and loses all 3 could end up with the toe ring.
Damn right. I would agree. Back to
that's fine.
Let's think, right now. I don't know this year if it's possible. I'd have to look. I mean, if Jim would go on if Jim would lose the next 4 games and Kyle wins a couple, there's a toe ring option there. So again, it makes dumpage a little bit of a concern, maybe.
I like that.
I agree with that because I think technically if Zach or me, from Magel to Zach, if we were to lose out and Kyle wins out, we could then potentially have end up in last.
Right. And again, it makes, and obviously Kyle can keep dumping if he wants and go, all right, I still want to be better. I want to be the champion next year because I still agree with that too. That's the problem. I'm in the mix. I agree with Kyle. I want to be the champion next year if I can't be it this year. But at the same time, I'm still going to set my lineups and pick up a free agent here or there and try to make my team better if it keeps me from getting that damn toe ring. Jim, would that be okay with you? Meaning if we just go strictly by the standings at the end of the year after all 16 weeks?
Yeah, I don't see why that would be a problem. I mean, it'd keep it interesting. I don't know. I mean, I feel like there should be a little bit of reward for making it into the playoffs, making that cut to where, throughout the season you're playing to have a chance at reward and also playing to not have a chance at, the penalty.
The only reward is winning it at the end.
That is reward. I guess the only thing you could say is, all right, if you make the playoffs, then the toe ring would go to the lowest seeded guy or the guy at the, closest to the bottom that didn't make the playoffs. But then you're only just the 4 people there. And obviously if you lose the first, if you lose the first round of the playoffs, I'm out of here. At least this still would keep you interested if we still did it the way we're talking.
Yeah, I agree, because that middle ground of people that
this year
made the playoffs and got bumped right away have less to play for than even the bottom 4 teams.
Right, because they can't trade keepers anymore either. And their team should be a little bit better than the guys who got rid of their keepers.
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't happen. But
all right.
For instance, if Reed doesn't make it, he has a good team that could potentially be better than, someone actually in the playoffs.
Well, if you want to word it a certain way, obviously we don't have a majority now. But I think most of us are in agreement. But if you want to, I think that's the first thing we should vote on. I think because it's just the way it is as of right now, I don't think we change the waiver or free agent, meaning if you want to use it, you use it, because that's technically the rule we have right now.
So what is the actual rule on the waiver?
Technically the way ESPN doesn't care if you're in or out of the playoffs, you use your waiver spot.
You can still use it then.
Yeah. So
I
problem with that.
I mean, we can just put a vote up for, the toe ring or whatever goes till the end of the season. And by doing that, that automatically will make using the waiver active.
Right.
Oh, God.
Speaking of a loser.
Is it Nikki Sixx?
What?
No, Nikki Sixx still has 3 hairs. Brackman, this is important because this includes you. We're at a major vote here.
And I've been listening for the last 30 minutes, baby.
Okay. So as someone who could end up with a toe ring, do you think we should play it all the way to week 16 based on who's going to wear the toe ring?
Absolutely.
There we go. So Kyle,
I knew he would. He's too competitive not to.
Kyle and Brackman are in, and they're the 2 most likely to wear it anyway.
Hey, but listen here. Here's my issue. I traded away my running back today, so I'm hosed. So that toe ring may have my name on it, but I'm playing till week 16.
Hold on, Kevin.
You and me.
You never texted me back, by the way. Are we still?
I mean,
in talk?
I traded Eckler today, but I'm playing till week 16.
There you go. I like it, and I would too. I mean, I would. So I don't need the incentive because, like I said, I just don't want to be last with or without a toe ring. I don't want people to go. Again, Brody's been getting shit for like 3 years of him finishing last that season. I don't want that. So. And my streak of not missing the playoffs, that's important too. But still, I think we need to just put it for a quick vote tomorrow. But I do think we need to go till the end of week 16.
I agree. I mean, I can just we can put it to a vote, or I can just individually text who isn't here to vote on it. If the 6 of us, because sometimes voting can lag and take a while.
The chat room was pretty good about to me. These little things, to me, I guess I agree. I mean, if it's a minor thing like this, to me, it should be able to be done in our chat room and or text. It doesn't have to be a major rule where we have to put it on the website. So,
I agree.
Out of this 6, is there anybody that's against it? All right, so we only got 6. We technically only need 1 more to be a majority.
Yeah.
So
was Zach for it or was he against it?
Zach's, I don't know, him and Brody. I think Brody was kind of for it too. So, but
yeah,
he seemed indifferent.
Gus must have heard Mago on the thing. Gus is now barking.
Gus loves me.
I really want to ask, Host Smasher, you're wearing a nice saggy T-shirt. You been smashing hoes or what?
Oh yeah.
You look comfortable, like they're at the other end of the couch.
Well, we don't want to reveal too much for our listeners. We'll keep the mystery.
Oh, all right.
Well, Host Smasher, you've got fans, so I'm just curious.
Right. He does have fans that want to know what he's having for dinner. And everything. All right. I'm going to end the podcast part, and then we'll go a few minutes on YouTube for anybody who wants to listen. Gives people an incentive to log into YouTube, and nobody wants to download more than an hour of us bullshitting about our league. But then
I'm gonna grab a beer then.
We'll talk a few more things here, and then get out, and everybody can have a good Thanksgiving and all that. So let me play the music out, and we'll be right back with everybody that is listening on YouTube.
This has been Just a Fantasy Fan podcast. And to keep your fantasies going, follow us at justthefantasyfan.com. Say good night. Good night.
And the podcast is out. We're the after hours show where, we can do what we want.
Listen here, fuckers.
For a few minutes. Listen here, fuckers. That's the way to start off our after show. So again, I think a few things we need to vote on, and then a few things we come up with tonight that we need to make sure we get in, the rules so we know what we're voting on when the league ends. And Kevin, how did your, basketball game go?
It went pretty well. I had to. We play a team here in the next week or so we've got to. I got to scout them out.
Oh, all right. What grade are you coaching these days?
JV boys.
JV boys. So you're scouting for the varsity, or you're scouting for your JV team?
I was scouting for our JV team, and then I sat with our varsity coach.
All right.
So,
I have an important announcement to make to our fellow fantasy managers.
Go, host smash.
All listening.
Shit.
So,
shit.
I've come to the conclusion that a major decision is going to be made for my host smashing organization.
You're getting rid of Cortland Sutton?
The fire sale begins now.
No,
anyone
he's lying.
Is available. Keepers, picks, send the offers.
Hold on. Where did this come from? What made you change your mind?
Well, I'm looking at my roster and the matchups, and I'm looking at your team, and there was a few key pieces that I felt like not only were essential for me not only to potentially win this week to even make the playoffs, but sure, I could squeak by a victory and get in, but to actually have a shot at winning the Super Bowl, I require those pieces, and I just couldn't get the deal done. And the last thing I want is for that trade deadline to come across and miss out on some of the value that I could have acquired for next season.
I do think we did the right thing extending the trade deadline, because that did make it a little better, but still there were still so many teams that were close. One more week, I think, would have made a huge difference.
I missed part of what Host Smasher was saying. What did he just say?
Host Smasher is
her name was Jessica. She had a whispering eye. I don't know, something about that.
He's saying he's committed to fire sale if you're looking to get rid of keepers and look at his team, because he doesn't think he can win the Super Bowl, which I agree, Host Smasher, to a point, or Jim now. I mean, there's a point where just making the playoffs can't be enough. If you have the ability to make your team better next year, knowing you're not going to, win a Super Bowl. And I would agree. Right now, there's 3, 4, 5 really, really good teams. And, believe it or not, 5 really in-between teams. And those in-between guys do have to go, hey, it would take a unique week to beat one of those. But it's possible. Again, I had a strong team. Now, Brody had a strong team too last year, but I would have got beat in round 1 by anybody. I scored 118 fucking points. A team that was scoring 200 every week. I'd have got beat by that. I'd have got beat by every team in our league last year in the first round of the playoffs, because my team, not just one player, the whole team shit the bed. And I had a very good team. So that's the argument against what you're saying is,
right. I could get lucky and play.
You could beat me in any given week if my team has one of those weeks. So it is a hard decision to make. but that's the fine line. I've offered a few questionable trades today of players that kind of still do both, meaning, hey, this will still help you be competitive this year, but there's keeper / trades involved or, picks involved. I mean, those are the ones to me that are harder to get done, but still have the option. They give you that, hey, you know what? If I still win, I got a chance, but now I at least have a something pick, or at least now have, a something keeper. You can do both. And then obviously there are some people, I get it. Kyle was at the point where he knew he didn't have a shot at making the playoffs. So now he might as well sell to a point, but there are ways to do both to where you can be competitive and then also, have something going forward. And obviously when I traded picks last week, that opens that up a little bit, because now you can trade with people that don't have keepers, because like I've told a few people, keepers don't get traded, or not. I mean, picks don't get traded. Picks don't get sick. Picks don't hold out. Picks don't get traded to another team, but keepers can do all that. You can have a top keeper and then next year he sits out and he's useless to you. I mean, there are advantages of picks over keepers to a point. And technically you can have right, Clay? You can have 18. No, you couldn't. You could have 18 number 1 and 2 round picks if everyone trades them to you. You just can't have more than 18 picks. So you can have 2, 3, 4 4th round picks if you want, but you can only have 4 keepers. So there is a fine line there. And again, I've told all you guys, I could not say a word. I don't have to text people and educate them. I don't have to say anything, but it makes our league better if everyone has an idea that this is more than just a draft and hold league. It's fantasy football. There are so many ins and outs. Anyone's ever talked to me that goes, if you come to me and say, I just really want to get a deal done, I'll figure out a way to get it done with you if it makes my team better and makes your team better in some cases. So, there's a million ways to do shit, and it's like tonight, I educated somebody, Clay, that didn't know they could keep 2 keepers in the same round. They didn't have a clue. They were, they don't even understand that. So we need to
hold on. Say that again.
You can keep 2 keepers that are 8th round. You just bump up a round, meaning
it bumps up to 7th.
You have 2 8th round keepers. One of them becomes a 7th round keeper next year.
I thought I was told he was a 9th. He could be a 9th.
Doesn't matter. No, you got to move up. If you have 2 8th round, one of them has to move up. You can't go backwards. Then you're benefiting. If you have 2 guys that can be kept in the 8th, one of them has to move up to a 7th round pick, but you can still keep them both, because that guy might still be worth a 4th round pick. So you still want to keep them both.
Whichever one you added last is the one that moves up. I believe is what we.
See, I didn't know that.
I will question that, Clay. I would say I have the choice, meaning I can move whoever I want.
Is it okay?
I want
because I want.
Hold on, Kevin. I thought you were saying that when you asked me that, I thought you said Sanu was a 9th round keeper. That's my fault. I didn't realize they were both in the 8th.
They were both kept in the 10th round this year.
10th round. Okay. So I'm sorry. I thought you were saying one was an 8th and one was a 9th. That is my bad.
No. Okay. So if I wanted to keep, so basically, Megal, to explain my situation here, I've got Michael Gallup and Sanu.
Zach just voted that the toe ring goes through week 16. That would give us a majority.
Fantastic. Clint, you following me here?
Yeah. I think I've got it. I just didn't know you could do that.
Gallup and Sanu were both kept in the 8th round, none of which started on my team, somehow ended up on my team. But next year will be 8th round keepers. Well, if I wanted to keep them both, one would have to become a 7th. I would want to pick the guy I would want longer to be my 8th.
Exactly.
Opposed to my 7th.
I think that's up to you, honestly.
Yeah.
Personally, I was actually, because I asked this question earlier because I was looking at maybe a trade and where I would have 2 keepers in the same round and said you couldn't do that.
Who said you couldn't do it?
I don't know.
That's fine. But it
might have been Dally I was talking to about it.
You literally can have 4 guys in the 8th round, especially in our league, because free agents are 8th round picks. But you just have to be able to go, okay, I'm still willing to keep that guy now in the 7th. See, last year, me and Clay talked. I had 3 guys that were all in that same round, and I would have had to move up a 7,
six.
had up to 6, and I decided not to keep them. Now I should have. One was Dak Prescott. I'd have kept him in the 7th or 6th. And the other one was Eckler, actually. I think I would have been a 7th or 6th, and then Damian Williams. But I decided that, to me, they were all worth keeping in the 8th, but none necessarily worth keeping in the 7th or the 6th, and I'd rather have the pick.
No, I get it.
I mean, but that's the point. If you have 4 guys that are keepable, it doesn't matter. They can all be in the same round as long as you can justify, that they're still worth the next level pick or vice versa. So
I don't see a problem with that.
I would want to keep the guy most likely to keep a couple more years, even. Because if you get him in the 8th this year, next year they're a 6th, and then the next year they're a 4. So obviously, if you have a really good keeper, you want to manage him more than the other 2 guys. So
Yeah.
That's just the strategy of the game.
Well, and for the record,
no, we're not on the record anymore.
Okay, well, for off the record, I've been snickering at my phone like a 2nd grade schoolgirl all day because this sucker's been blowing up with offers and deals, and I haven't stopped looking at it. And I feel like a dead deer on the side of the road getting scavenged by a turkey vulture.
Well,
you guys are like, and I'm trying to make the right move,
right?
Because once you make one move, it's going to affect 3 other moves around you.
But
you got to come tomorrow at noon to accept them.
What you just described, though, is what makes it fun.
Sit on all of them.
I know, but I made a deal with Brody, and it wasn't necessarily like, I know he's in here, he's not in here.
No, he's not in here now.
I sent the same deal, I'll just tell you, to TJ, because TJ was all about Eckler. And I said, here, I'm gonna make it fair with you, because Brody had talked to me about him, and I offered them the same deal. Brody jumped on it, and I made that deal to get a double 5th round pick, knowing that Mahomes was my 5th round keeper. If for some reason I had to end up dealing Mahomes, I still have a 5th round pick.
Right.
You'd have 2.
I'd have 2.
Well,
I'd have
technically you have 2, but if you keep Mahomes in the 5th, now you have a 5th round pick to go with it. That's all.
Yeah. And so I've set myself up all right, but I'm trying to get rid of some guys. I still want to get rid of a few guys.
I know, but it's hard, obviously.
It's tough. I mean,
so, Jim, do you understand? Because I know you're new to the league. Do you understand now what we're talking and how the keepers work?
Oh yeah, I've always
right. Kyle, do you have a clue? I quit eating your damn bologna sandwich. You got it now?
Yeah, I understand.
Kyle's pretty big. Kyle's one that'll text me here and there if he's not sure. And again, I've told all of you in that chat room, I might say one thing, but if you text me privately, I'll tell you the facts. I'm not gonna bullshit anybody. If someone wants to say, hey, is this guy really a 12th round keeper? I know how to. I have a picture of the damn board. I know how to go and look it up because Jim had that question. Kevin, you need to know that too. The way they were picked on ESPN sometimes is not necessarily their keeper value. You got to go to the board and see when they were actually picked.
I have only ever looked at the board. I don't even know how to look at it on the app.
Oh, well, then fine. You're fine. As long as you have that board, that tells you just have to bump them up 2 rounds from where they were on that board. So,
well, now that I know Host Smasher's all in and he's ready to catch fire.
He's all out. Host Smasher's all out.
Host Smasher and I are going to make a deal here. He just doesn't know it yet.
Host
Smasher. Who he wants to make a deal with.
Host Smasher's got my stepson. So.
Whatever.
Well, he's a keeper next year, though, so I doubt he's
Hey,
going to
Clay,
build
this
off
is
of
between the Host Smasher and I.
Just saying.
Right, Clay, stay out of it.
Hey,
Sorry,
you stay in
my
your little. You stay in your little rectangle up there.
Just stay where you belong. I love that we have a Christmas tree out already too, Clay. I was just going to mention that earlier. That you're already. Oh man,
I have my menorah somewhere around here
kids
too.
And doing all that shit a month in advance. Now I think we put our tree up about 2 days before Christmas. It's
since she's pregnant, it was a lot of me putting this one up, and her sitting there telling me if it was right or not.
Get used to it. That's your next 20-some years.
Exactly the way it works.
Yeah.
Mr. Brackman, peace.
So can we just take a second and talk about, you may have done this on the show before, who are the top 5 most valuable keepers in our league right now? Have you talked about this?
No, because it's hard to say 100%.
But you would think James Conner. You would think of Philip Lindsay.
I don't even know when Lindsay's a keeper.
I think he's
No,
like
Lindsay's
11th.
not. Lindsay's not.
I
He's
don't
I
know.
would
looking
put
like the
Chubb.
Well,
I would put
Chubb.
Chubb in there. I
Chubb's
would
in
put
there.
Kamara. I would put
Um,
probably Godwin.
Yeah, Godwin now's an 8th round.
Godwin's in.
Or no, he's
yeah,
even later than that, maybe.
Godwin's the
He's
9.
10th. 9th.
I traded Kittle. Kittle, I think, is one of the best ones. He's like around
Kittle.
12 Kyle or something like that. To get a number
Edelman.
1 or 2 tight end in round 12 is a steal. That's a big keeper.
Or unless you take Kelsey in the first.
Well, and that's fine.
I would say
I had
Edelman's
both
another
of
one
them.
as well.
What?
Like-
Edelman.
Edelman's an 11th round keeper right now.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I'm just trying to think some of the real late ones. I don't even know what Kamara is these days. You've had him for 3 or 4 years, so I don't even know what he will be next year. Clay, what's next year?
He will be.
It's like
I think
still
a 7th.
six
A
or
7th.
7.
All right.
Hey, Clint, did you hear the breaking news on ESPN?
No.
Yeah, Godwin's not going to play at all next year, so you might as well trade him to me.
That's
Okay.
what they're saying.
For Mahomes.
Kevin,
What?
we have a deal, by the way.
Wait, I haven't solidified anything yet here.
I'm just saying on my end, we're good.
All right.
If we're shaking on it,
Let me clarify what I said earlier.
Go ahead, Ho.
Maybe I used the word fire sale in the wrong context. That does not mean 25 cents on the dollar you're getting my players.
that is what a fire sale is, though. Just
Yeah,
to be
he's
clear.
got a point there.
What are
That
we
is
shopping?
exactly what
Are we
we
shopping
are.
at the Goodwill or the Salvation
what a
I
Army?
don't
fire
have
sale
Black
is.
Friday specials available on my players.
Well, the key is now my understanding of what a fire sale is and what isn't, meaning I'm willing to give away. See, that's to me the difference in value. The value is just different now, meaning I'm willing to take a guy with a lower value this year, but has more value for me next year. That to me is no longer a fire sale. And it might be 25 cents on the dollar. But again, if this guy has no keeper value and this guy does, that does change the value different than what some people can figure in their head or no. Because some keepers have more value than others, and some, and obviously, like I said, it's hard, and that's what makes trades look crazy when you see them. But at the same time, it is what it is. Yeah.
So if I decide not to keep a guy, say, in the 8th round, okay, for some odd reason, or I decide not to keep a keeper in the 10th round, and he gets then drafted in the 7th round, he then is a 7th round keeper that next year.
Well, he's a 5th round keeper.
5th round keeper. So his stock then rises if I don't keep him where I.
That's correct. Right. Their draft day, where they're
Is-
on draft day, is their keeper value for the rest of the season.
Is the lock. Okay.
And anybody
But
that wasn't drafted or picked up on free agency becomes an 8th round
8th
keeper.
round keeper. Yeah.
So you might have people on your team that were free agents and they're 8th round keepers, and they're maybe worth keeping in the 8th round. I mean, I'm pretty sure, which would be another pretty good keeper. I think Zach picked up off waivers in week 1. So Shark would be an 8th round keeper. That's not a bad keeper, I don't think, either right at the moment.
he's on Brody's team now, right?
Yeah, that's true. They traded. Right. Brody.
I honestly was just saying for myself. I couldn't remember who had him.
I think you're right. Zach did trade him. I think it is Shark is on Brody now, unless Brody traded him. But, Shark is a pretty decent keeper. So, yeah, every year there's a few free agents that we miss, and you go, oh, wait, he could be a keeper for me. I picked
Lindsay last year.
Yeah, Lindsay was an 8th. So he'd be a 6th next year. I don't know. It's back to that organization. I know Kevin's a fan. They got a lot going on. New quarterback again. I don't know. I'm not a fan of the coach yet. So
You get ready. They're gonna draft homeboy out of Alabama, or they're gonna draft what's his face out of Oklahoma. Hurts.
Yeah, you can't have enough one-hipped quarterbacks. So,
And Elway's been great at finding quarterbacks. That's what he's been known for. So I really trust him in drafting another quarterback for you.
Yeah, shoot.
He has been great at making backup quarterbacks rich.
Yeah, you know what though? Honestly, if I'm a fantasy owner, I'm not owning any of Denver's receivers. So if anybody in this chat room owns a Denver receiver, you might as well try to get rid of him because Denver's useless. So I'm just throwing that out there. Denver's a train wreck, already off the tracks.
But again, me and Kevin have had this talk.
My personal team has no factor in my fantasy play.
Oh, mine does.
It is all about, and I know Clay does. Clay likes to have the
yes
same.
and no, but
Yes and no.
I obviously
I'll shoot you. You liar. But
if I don't have them, I don't go out. I don't like sell my team for him like Kevin would.
Okay. All right.
But I want to say this though. Clay's team's 8-2 right now. He has every reason to have his favorite. I mean, on the flip side of that, when I won it and I had 4 Denver Broncos in my starting lineup, Peyton Manning was hitting every receiver with the ball.
Yeah, that was a ridiculous offense.
And I was good. And only because Peyton Manning carried me to a championship.
Brody did it with the Colts, right? Brody
Yeah.
No, he did it.
Now,
I think
he lost in the he didn't make it through the playoffs. The Colts got him one of his
Pretty
better
far.
seasons. He had like 4 Colts on his team. But
Yeah.
I can just tell you, fantasy strategy says that's a bad way to play fantasy.
Yeah.
You know, having more than a couple people on one team is not necessarily the best way to go. If you hit on it, and that's the point. We can maybe talk about 2 or 3 teams in 20 years where that's actually worked out. Where
I'll be back in just a second.
where 3 or 4 people are fantasy relevant. It just is hard to do. You know, I mean, it's just tough. I mean, it's like Magel, you know, Magel's, you know, one running back from Seattle. Well, he got rid of. For a while there, he had 2 Seattle running backs, and now maybe both of them could be playing.
Well, Rashard Penny.
But at the same time, maybe one doesn't. One fumbles, and they're not in the whole game.
He got lucky and had a 60-yard run at the end of the game for a touchdown.
Right, that's true too. It does make the stat look a little odd. Now he he was in on a lot of plays though. I think
he's been in all season. He's
so
got a little here and a little there.
But my point would be, I try to stay away from that. You know, I just don't like having multiple players from one damn, you know, team, and you know, just because, you know, having Brady and Edelman, you know, yeah, if they go off one week, I get bonus, but if Brady has a bad week, which he did this week, and Edelman still got me, I think, 18 points. But, you know, the point is, if, you know, the quarterback has a bad week and you're relying on 1 or 2 of their wide receivers, you're going to be in trouble. Quarterback and running back, sometimes I can deal with that sometimes. But I try to not have, you look at my rosters, so most of my fantasy teams, very rarely will you see more than 1, you know, and if I have 2, it's because it's a backup, you know, or a true handcuff, not a second player, but it makes it hard. So, but, you know, and again, Clay had that. Clay had one bad week when the Saints had a bad week. You know, you know, when Breeze threw for 98 yards and, you know, the running backs weren't doing anything. I mean, and that's the point. You know, if you have a running back and the wide receiver and the team has shit, you have 2 players that are, you know, already, you know, done in makes it hard. So, and definitely, which is what I'm, you know, it's back to Ben this week, winning and keeping Mago out of being, you know, 3rd place. The Browns have to hit. You know, Ben is so up and down 100% based on the Browns. He has a running back, a wide receiver, and the quarterback. And that's just hard to do it that way. I mean, yeah, they could go in a roll here. The next 3, Ben could win the whole damn thing if the Browns go off, and they got a pretty easy schedule. So, you know, all of a sudden Ben can have 3 guys that are getting 25 points, 30 points. And now he's, you know, 90 or 100 points on 3 guys before anybody else plays. That's hard to beat. But
as long as he can score 200, that's fine.
They have one bad week and he scores 100 points or 87 points and gets beat by Garrett, who wasn't setting his lineup. So the whole thing's a little, you know, crazy. So guys, been an extra half hour. I got to get up and, like I said, my business is moving and my ass is wore out. I'm going to sit and drink another beer or 2 and go to bed early.
Got you. Wait, did Kevin just get off?
Yep. Kevin either jumped off or got kicked out. I didn't do it.
We were in the middle of working a deal. So, bastard.
Well, maybe he got off to work that deal.
Yeah, he said
maybe.
his computer just died.
His phone died.
He said, "Don't let them sign off. My computer died."
Yeah, he just texted me too.
Mark's going to bed early.
And I just got my low battery message. 7.
All right, guys, I had a blast. Everyone have a happy Thanksgiving.
All right, you guys too.
Everybody
See,
have a happy trading Wednesday tomorrow. If anything
Yes.
happens tonight or whatever. And again, you guys all need to make deals because I have the best team, and I hope I'm hoping one of you comes up and competes with me a little. That's all. So keep making those trades. Mago, I'll see you in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Everybody that came on to listen to the extra half hour, thanks for coming on YouTube. Just again, follow me on YouTube, all one word, A Fantasy Fan. And then other than that, every Tuesday night, we do the show live, start at 9:00. Guys, again, good luck this week. And don't forget to set your lineups. 3 games on Thursday. So don't forget to set your lineups. Everybody say goodnight.
Good night.
Right.
Night.